Welcome to PeopleSoft Now. I'm Dan Iverson. Today, we're joining a conversation with Paco Aberwan, Senior Vice President of Software Engineering, and Russell Broom, Vice President of PeopleSoft Strategy and Development. They recently sat down to talk about the latest PeopleSoft updates, what has changed over the past year, and what customers can look forward to next. Their discussion reflects the questions we hear most often from customers at user events, in meetings, and in focus groups. You will hear about Oracle's Applications Unlimited commitment to customers, along with current PeopleSoft investments focused on modernization, including a new dynamic landing page, expanded search capabilities, new tools to help control customization costs, and improved solutions for both internal and external stakeholders. And, as always, PeopleSoft's future depends on continued collaboration among customers, Oracle, and our partners. Stay tuned for the conversation.
Welcome to our annual update. Today we're going to talk to Paco Aberwan about everything PeopleSoft, what customers can look forward to over the next 12 to 18 months. But before we do that, around the world I talk to various customers and there's always a couple of questions that always seem to come up. So I want to take this opportunity for Paco to address some of those so all of you hear the response. The first is whether Oracle is still committed to our Application Unlimited strategy, whether our customers' past investments are protected, and whether they can continue to run their business on PeopleSoft. So, Paco?
Yeah, great. This is the annual question that I've been getting now for 20 years, and 20 years is kind of an important milestone because we actually the Applications Unlimited strategy turns 20 or just turned 20 this year. So we've been now for 20 years. 20 years ago, Oracle introduced this commitment effectively to our customers that we called Applications Unlimited. And in that, what we said was, look, we're going to continue to invest in PeopleSoft and some of our other product lines to support our customers' business as long as our customers are running their business on these product lines. And that's been met with some, I guess I'd say skepticism early on that we would really be able to do that as a company and whether we would really stand by that commitment. And so I've been getting that question for 20 years, and now we have the advantage of not just telling you all what we intend to do, but we can do that in the context of what we've done. And so we've now had Applications Unlimited, this commitment around PeopleSoft, in place and running for 20 years. And it largely looks the same today as it did 20 years ago. I mean, what that commitment means and what we're standing by. So we are here now, and we have a 10-year rolling support roadmap. That doesn't mean that we're going to forever and ever and ever support PeopleSoft, but what it means is we realize customers need to be able to plan, and they need enough time to be able to change those plans if we make a change in our plan. So today, Applications Unlimited means we're continuing to invest in the product, and that we have a 10-year support window, and that every year we reevaluate that and decide whether we've made a decision to stop supporting PeopleSoft, and if we haven't, we add another year. So we've just recently added another year to our support window. So Applications Unlimited, happy birthday, happy 20th birthday, and everything is alive and well.
Great, thank you. The other thing that we always get asked, especially after we've brought customers up to date of things that we're working on, what they can look forward to, is with all the investment we're putting in PeopleSoft to modernize the application, keep it relevant, why do customers need to continue planning for Oracle Cloud applications given our commitment to PeopleSoft? How would you answer that question?
Yeah, and that's a really good one. And we've been trying to be, we try to be very clear and honest with our customers about what we mean, what our strategy is, and what we expect and what they can expect from us. So just because we're continuing to invest in PeopleSoft doesn't mean that we think that customers can or should run it forever. We feel pretty strongly about the fact that the cloud delivery model, software as a service, where Oracle is responsible for maintaining the applications, running them in our data center, making sure they're secure. We very strongly believe that that's the future of applications. I mean, if you look at new companies that are building software products, they're all being delivered via the cloud. So it's important for our customers to know that while we're supporting and investing in PeopleSoft, we're really doing that so that our customers have time on their own time frame to get to our cloud applications. So that's number one, is that Applications Unlimited really is in support of the future direction or the current kind of strategic direction of Oracle applications, which is our cloud applications. However, there's also some very real things happening in the market today that will hopefully let customers see that it is really important to get on the kind of the future train when they can, and the future train being our cloud applications. The first is security. In today's world with agents and generative AI, where bad actors are able to more easily find and exploit vulnerabilities, it's more important than ever to be in a system that's very secure. And it's not that PeopleSoft can't be secure, it's hard for all of our customers individually to make sure that it's very secure all the time. And we do that on our cloud applications for our customers. And then number two is the advances in generative AI are significant, and the vast majority of our investments there are in our cloud applications.
AI is the hottest thing in the market right now. How does the emergence of Gen AI impact our customers' decision to move to cloud applications? Can't they leverage Gen AI with PeopleSoft applications? How is this different than what the customers would be able to do in Fusion?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think it's an important one for our customers to understand. There's the generative AI agent platform, agentic solutions, agent teams, agent workflow, all that is one of the most significant changes that I've seen in enterprise technology since I've been involved with it a long time ago. Um, it's fundamentally going to shift the work from requiring people to do everything to the machines being able to do a lot of the work. That involves in a lot of ways re-architecting some of the ways our applications are built in terms of how work gets done and how work gets moved around the enterprise. That fundamental re-architecture is something we're doing in our Fusion applications, in our cloud applications. And that includes basically an embedded native agent platform. We're not going to build that in PeopleSoft. We're not going to re-architect the PeopleSoft applications to fundamentally leverage agent teams. We're not going to change all the features and functions to leverage to embed and be kind of agent first or AI first. For customers who are ready for that and who want that, which should be a lot of you, if not all of you. The solution that we're putting that massive amount of investment into from an generative AI enablement standpoint is our Fusion Cloud applications. Now, that said, that doesn't mean we're not doing anything with PeopleSoft. What we are doing on PeopleSoft is making some infrastructure changes that will more easily allow our customers and our partners to integrate PeopleSoft into agent platforms. And some of our customers are doing that, and they're enabling generative AI capabilities in PeopleSoft. But we're not re-architecting, we're not rebuilding all the functionality to use those. If that's something that is important to you, then it's even that much more urgent, I think, that you look at our Fusion applications.
Since you mentioned we're not focused on shifting PeopleSoft applications to be powered by Gen AI agents, what are the investment objectives you want our customers to know about?
Yeah, so they shift a little from year to year what we're trying to achieve with the investments we have, but are not all that different. Which is we want to modernize the applications so that those customers that are choosing to continue to run on PeopleSoft can do so successfully. And so some of the areas that we're focused on is providing kind of more modern experiences to our internal stakeholders, providing more modern application experiences to our external stakeholders, um, and providing the tools and modern solutions to our the IT and operations teams so that they can effectively manage PeopleSoft at a lower cost. So we're doing that, and then kind of layered on top of that or with that is taking feedback from our customers about functional enhancements that they need that they've sometimes or oftentimes done had to do customizations in order to achieve, and putting those functional enhancements into the product so that our customers can reduce the customization over time. So that largely is what we've continued to be focused on. What we're doing changes from year to year, but those objectives have been pretty consistent.
You hit the nail on the head around modernization. Every customer is looking at modernizing. What are some of the investments around modernization specifically that you want our customers to hear about?
There's a number, but probably the one of the kind of the most visible ones, right? Because a lot of times, uh, the perception is reality, and the end users of our application, if they perceive the application to be old and dated and not modern, then it doesn't matter if underneath the covers it's modern. If the users don't feel like it's modern, then it's not modern. So probably the number one modernization initiative we've had over the last, let's call it 2 years or so, has been around what we call landing pages and the technology to bring the users into a single place when they log into PeopleSoft to present the application and the information in a modern, highly visual, pleasant way.
Okay, great. Well, what are a few things, speaking about the landing page, that customers should know about specifically and why they should look at adopting it now?
Yeah, so we delivered the first. So the landing page by itself isn't necessarily a new concept. We had what were called home pages before. They were what we like to call walls of tiles. So they were almost exclusively navigation oriented, and they were role based. So depending on what your role in the company was, you'd log into a different homepage or log in and select the homepage that was relevant to what you were wanting to do and use that to navigate. It wasn't very informative. It was navigation based. With the advances in search technology and what we tried to do is with the landing page is provide our customers the ability to have everyone come to the same place and have the kind of what that landing page content looks like be dynamic based on who it is that's logged in, who the user is that's logged in. Um, and so we call that kind of single homepage, if you will, a landing page. And with PeopleTools 862, we delivered an ability to give our customers the styling control over what that looks like and how the content looks, so that it's not just static tiles. And with the applications over the last year, we delivered a bunch of templates, and we delivered a very, very important part of it, part of the solution called the notification publisher notification engine, basically, that allows our customers to dynamically push content into landing page sections based on the business rules they set up. So the goal with this landing page and what we're trying to help our customers achieve with it is not just something that looks nicer and looks more modern, but importantly, we're trying to help them deliver information to the end user about what they need to do. So it's not just a work list or not just a notification list, but it is dynamic content in sections that are relevant and have context that is specific to that individual user who's logged in. So they now know when they log in, here's things that I need to do based on the system status, or a task that they started but didn't complete, or a open enrollment that's time now for them to do. So they're not just presented with a bunch of navigation and now they have to decide what to go do. So that part of it's very strategic. We delivered that for the internal audience or internal users over the last year, and over the next year, we're going to be delivering that for external stakeholders.
You mentioned search. So search is becoming such an important part in the PeopleSoft ecosystem, and it's really more important each release. We're now using it in more ways like the landing page that you mentioned, insights, and of course, navigation search. What are some of the key investments in search that are coming in People Tools 863 that you want customers to hear about that you're yourself excited about?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest one is what we call semantic search. And semantic search is uses some of the newer technologies that are actually powering some of the generative AI capabilities. But specifically, what semantic search allows you to do is it allows the search engine to understand the intent of the search and not just the keywords. Today, when you put in keywords into a search bar, it'll come back with matches on those keywords. If our customer has decided to enable semantic search on a particular index, it will understand the intent of the search, and even if it doesn't match on particular keywords, those search results will come back with it'll come back with relevant search results. And we're enabling that out of the box on things like navigation or menu search, so it's even easier to find out, get to where you're going. And we're giving our customers the ability to enable that in other specific parts, any indexes they want. So that's going to be very powerful. And then we have a lot of we have a lot of usability features like misspelling correction and things like that. So there's just a lot of improvements to search. The key thing about the search, really, the value is in the index data. And so if you think about what we've delivered over the last probably 10 years within PeopleSoft is not just a bunch of search technology, but we've delivered the content, the search indexes, which hold a flattened replication of the transaction data sitting on a server that doesn't impact the transactional performance of the database when you search against it, and that is kept up to date with our real-time indexing. And so this layer of content that matches what's within the database that is accessible by these tools like Insights and Search, that is secure, and that doesn't impact performance now exists for the vast majority of our PeopleSoft objects. And so one of the other things that we're enabling is what we call this natural language search, which uses some generative AI capabilities that our customers can plug in to take basically a natural language question, convert that into, identify the index that's available to answer that, convert that question into an index query, and execute that against the index and return it to the end user. So those are pretty cool capabilities, especially when our customers are starting to look at how do you allow PeopleSoft to participate in an agent type of workflow.
We've mentioned the word enablement a couple of times, especially around Gen AI. Can you explain what that means to PeopleSoft? What infrastructure are we delivering that will really help customers and partners leverage Gen AI using PeopleSoft?
Yeah. So again, the enablement is we want to make it easier for customers and partners to deploy, large language models and agent platforms into PeopleSoft. So there's a few different components. One is we've introduced a couple actually MCP servers, and I won't go into all the details about what that is, but it effectively allows a generative AI agent platform to interact with PeopleSoft in a standards-based way without a human telling it what to do. So we have an MCP server that helps with this, getting this natural language query in and identifying whether the data can be retrieved through a search index, or whether there's an API that we have that exposes it. So that's one part of it, of what we're delivering with PeopleTools 863 that's going to be coming out. We have the infrastructure around the natural language query piece of it that provides a store for metadata that describes our search indexes and gives examples so the process can more easily form a query. We are also providing some infrastructure for a chatbot where customers can use the UI. We're not going to provide the end-to-end solution, but we're providing the UI component so that it's embedded in PeopleSoft. We're also separately providing, we're focused on productivity, so we're providing some AI tools into PeopleTools to help, developers more effectively. And then there's some things in the applications we're doing to make it easier to integrate in. And one of them is what we call, I think, the magic button, which is basically a way to configure a button to invoke a generative AI integration from within the PeopleSoft UI without requiring any customization on the part of the customer. So those are the types of things we're building. We're building the parts and the components, delivering them in People Tools, delivering some of those in the applications that'll make it easier, faster, cheaper for our customers to leverage some of the generative AI technologies in the context of PeopleSoft.
Okay, great. Well, we've hit on technology. We've talked a bit about Gen AI, and you mentioned modernizing solutions for stakeholders. The PeopleSoft landing page is one of the ones that we did recently that was really the biggest investment for internal stakeholders in a while. What other investments should customers know about for internal stakeholders, such as employees, management, and administrators, in your own words?
Yeah, so this is where some of this gets into the specific products, and we put out our overviews around the features and the products. So I can't go through all the specific functionality, but one example that I think is important is, and we've gotten asked a lot about this, and it's the ability to kind of coordinate more complex processes that happen in the organization that use PeopleSoft, but maybe not exclusively PeopleSoft. And the one example of that is the period end close, right? It involves different teams across different organizations doing activities and tasks that are both in PeopleSoft and outside of PeopleSoft. And so we've introduced what we're calling a period close monitor, or we will be introducing a period close monitor in the applications and the coming up that gives the ability for administrators to define task templates, to distribute those tasks to the teams on a periodic basis that measure against the timeline, allow collaborative task management that gets then rolled up into a single interface that tracks status, allows for drill down, and we're doing all that in a way that's in a kind of a framework that we call the task flow monitor. And we can now, we're delivering, we initially were delivering that primarily to power the solution that we're coming out with around the period close. We're also now can apply that to something like payroll. So the payroll process has a number of steps in it, and a lot of times our customers or our users have lists of checklists they have to walk through, or post-its that they have to remember, or things like that. Now they can put all that in the application. They can monitor it, has visibility. So that's a good example of one of the things another thing we're doing for our internal stakeholders. For external stakeholders, suppliers, we are using the landing page technology to deliver landing pages for suppliers. We're delivering landing pages for applicants coming in and for recruiting. We're delivering landing pages for customers and for our customers, so that this modern capability around the landing page is not just for internal users, but for external and tailored for those use cases.
Great. Well, that covers internal and external. What about IT and operations? What can customers look
Yeah.
forward to there?
There's a number of things we're doing coming up in both the applications, but really in People Tools, coming with People Tools 863. One of the big areas that is, as we look at how do we help reduce the costs of PeopleSoft, one of the biggest drivers of cost for PeopleSoft is customization. And we understand that the customizations, that it's too simplistic to tell customers don't customize, right? They need to, they're going to. That's one of the reasons they chose PeopleSoft. So what we've been focused on the last couple releases, 862 and now 863, is how do we give them better visibility into what the customizations are, which customizations are costing them the most, so that they can focus on using some of the tools that we've delivered, like Page and Field Configurator and drop zones and things like that, to help move customizations into frameworks that isolate them and reduce the cost. So in People Tools 863, one of the big investments we have is the next version of our Customization Insight solution. And we delivered in 862 this Customization Insight that gives them the ability to track how many customizations they have, which objects are customized, what the trends are, which customizations are being used by the business, which ones are being tested or not tested. So all this information about, and then which ones are being in conflict with the updates that the PeopleSoft team delivers throughout the year. But that solution, while good, was at an object level, and it's very hard from a business standpoint to translate a functional capability that required a customization into a series of system objects. And so what we've done in this release in 863 is allow our customers to basically group those customized objects into logical functional customization groups, as we call them, or functional customizations, and then do all that tracking I talked about in terms of cost and whether they're being used and all that at a functional level. And then we've given them the tooling to help do that grouping and then to manage it. So that's a big one. Very excited about that. There's a couple of others around security. So we're going to be enabling SAML out of the box for secure sign-on and single sign-on. We are out of the box integrating with TOTP. It's a two-factor authentication capability on an app that allows you very easily to set that up, and so you can now do you can now validate authentication at any point in time using a third-party authentication. So we've done a number of things there that are really important. And then one other area that I think is going to really help the operations team is we're investing more heavily in containerization. And so we've supported containers before in PeopleSoft, but we're now going to be supporting containers in terms of the content we produce. And coming very soon, the PUM images will be coming out on containers. So we expect that to make things faster and easier for our operations customers. And then finally, we're continuing to invest very heavily in what we call in PeopleSoft Cloud Manager, because we can do a lot, the level of automation we can do around the lifecycle management with our customers that are running on OCI, which is maybe not the majority yet, but getting close to being the majority of our customers, is unparalleled. So we're continuing to make big investments in our PeopleSoft Cloud Manager product.
Great. Well, thank you for your time today, Paco. Any final words to our PeopleSoft customers to wrap up?
No, I want to say that we realize that this all works only if all the kind of the constituents are working together. Our customers are working with us. Oracle supporting it financially in terms of making sure that we're continuing to have the investment we need to make the products good. Our partner ecosystem is critical to help our customers and work with us, and and our user group Quest, which is really important for us to make sure that we can engage with our customers. So it's 20 years of Applications Unlimited. I think any of you who were with us 20 years ago and who are wondering whether this product was going to continue to be viable, and are here now and have seen where we've come. I hope everyone appreciates that, understands that it takes a village, it takes everyone. It's our customers, our partners, and our product teams, and it's been a great 20 years, and I'm looking forward to another, I don't know how many, I won't say, but at least 10.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
We've covered a lot of ground. And for everything that Paco and Russell discussed, there's a lot more to consider. You can find out more on the PeopleSoft information portal at peoplesoftinfo.com. Of course, you'll have another chance to find out more on any PeopleSoft topic at the PeopleSoft Reconnect Dive Deep Conference in October. It's all virtual, so wherever you run PeopleSoft, you can interact with our global product development team and the full community of customers and partners. We'll see you there.
Good Sparky.